Edgar Bronfman, who was the head of Seagram's, came to the studio for some reason which I don't understand. And he wanted to know, he had acquired the property Charlotte's Web. And he had tied in with a man out of Czechoslovakia to do it. And this fellow had done some artwork, and it was the most gruesome, ugly artwork I've ever seen in my life. So he came into us and showed us the artwork. I wanted to know if we were interested in doing it. So we got involved with Edgar Bronfman, the head of Seagram's, worth over $400 million a day, you know. And we got involved to do this. It's a lovely story. And we cast it well, got a nice style of artwork. And at a certain point, we had to go to New York to show them how we were going on development. We showed it to Edgar Bronfman, and then he wanted to show it to E.B. White, who wrote the book. Very famous author. So I brought some artwork, and I went into New York, and Edgar Bronfman said, meet you at, I think it's 59th Street at 9 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know what he was talking about until I got there. That's a helicopter port there, right at 59th Street, right under the bridge. I didn't know. I got off and I looked around. Nobody was around there. Then he came up in a limo and got out, went into a little shack. I heard him on the phone. Something about, what do you mean you can't get it started, you know? So I hate flying and I hate helicopters to begin with. Nevertheless, here it comes. It was like a bubble, the helicopter. And you heard this pick-a-taka, 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 ticka-ticka, ticka-taka, dooga-dooga-dooga-dooga-dooga, and it stopped. He says, let's go. And I go, what? So we get into this bubble. It was he and his assistant and another man and myself. And it, and we go right over Harlem on the way to, we're going to Connecticut to pick up another plane. And we're right over the top of the building, and the people leaning in the window looking up, you know. Right next to me is a little door with a hook and eye. That's all it had. One of these hook and eye things, and it's rattling. And I'm looking at the building, I'm going, oh, what am I doing here? So as we arrive at the airfield in Connecticut and come down, here's a Gulfstream jet waiting, running to keep the air conditioning going, and two men in sport jackets waiting for it. We stop about 50 feet away and walk in and get into that, put the belt on. He starts to do a crossword puzzle. We had a stewardess, and that was it. And this Gulfstream takes off. It starts, and then, oh, it goes up like that. You know the way you see your face going by. It was there like that. I'm thinking to myself, all this for a cartoon, for heaven's sake? So we go ahead and we land at Bar Harbor. And now there is a long limo waiting. It was a Mercedes, I forget the number of it. We get into that, we drive for about 40 minutes up to someplace. And we come up to this charming farmhouse, right? And here are the animals locked in their stalls because there's rabies up there, right? But it was beautiful. There were lilacs blooming. So we knock on the door. I had the artwork, and you open the door, and you got this smell of fresh baked something, which was rhubarb pie, by the way. And down and over comes E.B. White. He was about 78, I think, at the time. And he was a charming man. And Edgar Bronfman, he was charming. He says, thank you for allowing us into your home. And then down the stairs, very slow, came Mrs. White, who was about 81 at the time, with a cane. And she said hello, and they sat down. Now, what happened was like a miracle. I think that both of them put away either 2 or 3 martinis. And these gentle little people suddenly grew, you know. Suddenly they were powerful, they were talking. He's telling me he had an idea how to draw the spider. And he's showing me how to draw the spider, and I'm going, where did we get into here? But you should see the way that stuff works. That's why I recommend a drink to anybody over the age of 52. But they were talking and laughing and everything like that. Plus, we were enjoying the fresh lobster salad from Maine, the Waters, and the rhubarb pie. And now we turned around and drove back. So we got in the car, went all the way back to the airport, got into the jet that we flew up on. And I told them on the way down I didn't want to go back in the helicopter, so they had a limo waiting for me. And it was really like a James Bond movie. The jet is coming in like this, and driving along here is a white Italian sports car. I forget the name of it. Waiting at the end of the runway was the limo, and over here was the helicopter, right? So there were three of us. So we got out. Edgar Bronfman gets into the sports car. I get into the limo, and the other guy got into the helicopter, and away we went. And I drove back down to New York from Connecticut like that. But it was a heck of an experience. Later on, I called Edgar Bronfman. I had a couple of meetings with him in New York, by the way, before this. And he was in the Seagram building, which is on, I don't know, Park Avenue and 45th Street. And I went up and had lunch with him, and he had his right-hand man, his steward or whatever, was serving lunch. But I had an agent at the time, and we were standing outside, and I was walking in, he says, "You think we can get a drink in this place?" The Seagram building, you know. So later on, when we had a meeting with Edgar Bronfman at the studio, I knew that he liked to drink, I think it's V8. It's a bourbon, which I never touched. So I sent out for a case of it, and I lined the shelves in my liquor closet with all this bourbon and closed the door. So we walked to the office. I said, "By the way," Edgar, I said, "I don't know what you drink, but I think it was bourbon. Let me take a look here." And I opened, it was a wall of it, you know. So anyway, from then on for several years, he was sending me bottles of stuff to try. A new brandy, a new this, a new that. And then he has vanished. In the meantime, his son has now taken over Universal. And let's hope he makes it work there, you know. But it was quite an experience. We did that pretty full animation, yeah. Put more work into it, more finesse, the whole, just made it a real classic thing, you know. And, you know, Wilbur, our pig, was way ahead of Babe. It's the same pig. I mean, Babe ripped off Wilbur, I could tell. They looked the same, they talked the same.